Odeta Moro, Onet Rano. Wiem, dzień dobry, witam was bardzo, bardzo serdecznie. Zarówno dzieci, jak i rodzice coraz częściej słysząc słowo edukacja, trochę się denerwują. Związane to jest oczywiście z całą sytuacją, z pandemią, ale też z tym, że nie wszystkie obiekty i szkoły są przygotowane do tego, żeby robić to na bardzo wysokim poziomie lub w ogóle na jakimkolwiek poziomie, przede wszystkim online. Ja dziś chciałam porozmawiać z moim gościem, z założycielem i prezesem szkoły online Novakid, Maxem Azarowem, o technologii edukacyjnej. Ciekawa jestem, czy słyszeliście o tym wcześniej. Czym w ogóle jest technologia edukacyjna, w skrócie nazywana Edtech? Hello, nice to meet you.
Hello, Odeta. Nice meeting you. Thank you for inviting me.
Tell me, what is it, this Edtech? What does it mean? What is inside of it?
So EdTech basically is a way for students to learn using technology, and it's a very broad term. But in our specific case, basically it helps to personalize learning for each student because we can analyze a lot more data about how well they're doing. And it allows us to, get students more engaged because students do like to use technology. And, we're all familiar with our kids, always interested in our laptops, tablets, and smartphones. And EdTech is something that allows it to harness this interest and really use it for good, to get kids to learn something, to become better citizens for the future. I would say personalization is definitely a big one. Just as an example, at our school, Novakid, we have over 50% of our lessons personalized, which means that those are lessons that students get on a per need basis.
Okay. My daughter, she's 17, and my son, it's 2. Tell me, because they are having huge difference between age difference. When should our kids start to learn language like that?
So as far as the language learning goes, there is actually a very interesting research by Steve Pinker. He's basically a world-renowned linguist. He wrote a book called Language Instinct. It's a very highly recommended reading.
Do we have something like Language Instinct? Every one of us?
Well, according to Steven Pinker, we do. Yes. That's actually what allows us to learn our mother tongue to begin with. Right. And basically, according to the research that was done by Steven and some of his colleagues, the optimal age to start learning is under 10 years old. So if you really want to achieve this fluent-like, native-like fluency, as they say, then the earlier you start, the better. And that doesn't mean you can't start after you're 10-year-old. So for your 17-year-old daughter, it's not the end of the world yet. It just means that it's going to be that much harder for her to achieve the same level of fluency as for if she would have started when she was 6 years old, for example.
But 6 means too late, or maybe 4 it's better time. Or maybe it's difficult to, kids are difficult to focus on something. Is it possible when they are 4 also? 6?
Well, that's one of the challenges that EdTech is striving to solve. And we at Novakid are also working on solving that, is getting kids interested. Because guess what? If they're interested, they can focus a lot, right? So again, just remember your child playing that, smartphone game. They're very focused at that moment, right? And they're focused. So basically, the difference with kids, they're focused on things that interest them, and it's difficult to force them to focus on something they don't want to do. So that's definitely a challenge, but we're successfully solving it. And actually, kids between the ages of 4, kids with ages of 4 and 5, they're one of the biggest demographics for Novakid right now.
Can you give me the example how you are getting interested, all those kids? How you're doing it on these classes?
Sure, absolutely. I would say that probably the first thing that gets them interested is just the way the class itself is structured. Is that there is this person that wants to talk to them in unknown language, and they get most of the kids get really curious about it because just unusual, right? And for them, everything unusual is interesting. But then our teachers are trained to use basically games to get kids' attention during the class. So they play different kinds of games using our online platform. Basically play with them. This is the key to success, to keeping their attention.
Let me understand. A kid is playing, and the teacher is next to him, talking about the play all the time. He's next to the kid all the time.
Yes. So the platform itself facilitates different games that teacher and the student are playing together. So, for example, we have some board games. Like, when you have these pieces moving on the board, and as they play this game and move the pieces, they also learn language. And, obviously, a student can win or a student can lose in this game. So that makes it interesting. And or sometimes teacher wins. And so then they try.
Every class, it's a kind of adventure for a kid?
Yes, you put it really, really well. What really our goal is, usually at the end of the lesson, they just try to remember yourself when you were a kid. Your first thought was, oh, finally it's over. I could go
45 minutes. Yes, it's over.
Finally it's over. But really our goal as a platform is to kid to be thinking, wow, I wonder what happens next. So each lesson should feel like a part of the adventure, a big adventure that the kid is going through. And that's the way we structure our curriculum, is that after each lesson, students should be wondering, I wonder what happens next. And he or she should want to come to the next lesson because of that, right? Because it's exciting, it's interesting, it's an adventure.
Is it the best way to learn English language as a second language? How many times a week kids should take those kind of lessons?
So we recommend 2 or 3 times a week. That we find that to be the optimal schedule that most parents can afford. And in terms of effectiveness, basically, think about it as so. According to again, if we come back to the science. Right. There's 2 areas of the brain that are responsible for us producing the language, responsible for the language. One area is where we actually it's called the language center, which is used 99% of the time when we speak. And this area is developed by practice. Mostly by practice, by imitation. Just remember your small kids when they were just learning their mother tongue. The way they learn initially is they imitate what you say, right? They imitate what they hear around themselves. And we harness the same methodology at Novakid. And this is why fluent tutors is important. Tutors who actually speak language fluently and they can model to the child what it's like to speak language fluently. So that's one of the things that we bring to the table, because in many markets it's actually difficult to get a fluent English speaker to be a tutor for your kid. It's either expensive or it's far away, or it's just plain impractical. So that's one of the problems we're solving. And there's a second part of the brain that's involved. This one is basically a rational thinking, and this is it's called so-called monitor. And what it does, it basically controls for errors, right? So if you make an error when you speak, you kind of think, oh, I just made an error, and you correct yourself. So if you do too much learning via this rational part, then your speech becomes slow because you're constantly controlling yourself for errors, or you just stop speaking altogether because you're just afraid of making a mistake. So it's important to develop this 99% part of the brain that's responsible for producing the speech, and not to overdevelop this monitor part of the brain that is responsible for error correction. And this is why we put such a big emphasis on fluent tutors, native speakers specifically.
How many weeks do we need to see the first results?
So we actually are constantly asking our parents how happy they are with the service and when they see first results. And I think after 1 month, about 85% of the parents, they report they see significant results in their kids in terms of interest for the language learning, in terms of their confidence in the language, in speaking the language and understanding the language. And after 3 months, that goes to up to 95%. So
Wow.
the results are pretty fast, but it does take time, right? So you shouldn't expect
It's tough
your
that
kid will-
it's tough that I'm not a kid anymore, you know.
yeah. You can't expect that you will be, speaking completely fluently after 3 months. So what it means is that there is improvement, there is confidence, and kids are basically start being comfortable in improving their language, expanding their vocabulary, and learning it basically like their second language, like a mother tongue.
We are living in a really strange time. I mean, in a pandemic around us. Tell me, is this the best way to learn language without leaving our houses?
Well, unless you have Mary Poppins living in your house with perfect English,
Okay.
then I would say that that's probably the only practical way to do it. And I would also, urge parents not to delay it too much, because even though we're trying to do our best, basically because of COVID, there is the demand has spiked considerably. Just last year, we grew over 6 times in terms of number of students as a school, and we expect that this will repeat itself this year as well, which means that best of the tutors and most convenient times get booked very quickly in September. And one of the kind of biggest advices for the parents that I would have is to don't delay starting this too much. The earlier you start, the more choice you will have in terms of tutors and convenient time slots that will fit your schedule or the schedule of your kid.
Tell me, that's the future of education? We're talking about English only right now, but maybe in a few months we're going to talk about math and other, parts of school.
Absolutely. I think that's definitely the online education and educational technology is here to stay. It will help us to get access to much more brilliant tutors. So, for example, instead of being able to listen, to attend lessons of only a local physics teacher, for example, with today's technology, I can very easily attend a lesson for a Nobel laureate and listen to the way he teaches physics, right? Especially if I can speak English, of course. That's or understand English. That also helps a lot. So I think technology will definitely help us to get access to much more talent in terms of tutors that we can access, much more brilliant tutors. It will also help us to personalize education more. Even with public schools, nowadays parents can personalize their education by essentially adding additional online courses by themselves. But I expect that public schools will also be using technology more and more to personalize learning for each student.
But
Maybe
for public schools, it's a really big step. Really big step.
I agree. It's not going to take. It's not going to be instant.
It's not going to be easy.
Yeah, it will take a while, but I think public services like Novakid will definitely kind of lead the way, and schools will have to kind of adapt and match the level of service that we're offering. So usually the private sector is a little bit more flexible and goes a little bit faster, and hopefully public schools will also be slowly but gradually moving into this direction.
That's your dream, to show the public schools how to learn online?
Well,
With a success?
My dream is for public schools to become a hybrid institutions where I would say that public schools should really focus on developing emotional intelligence for kids, where it's essential for them to interact with each other or interact with kids. With teachers, and that's kind of one of the things that from my past. What I found that at school, nobody really taught me any emotional intelligence, right? They just thought that they should teach me math. So no soft skills.
Yes,
and
that's true.
I'm hoping that schools' offline formats will be used more for this, right? Where this is where offline format excels, teaching those soft skills.
It's really hard to reach sometimes, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. But for all the other things, I think that technology can help to make it more effective. So basically, free up some time to teach our kids how to think better, how to feel better, how to control their emotions, and maybe allow technology to teach them math and languages and all the kind of formal subjects.
That's true. That would be great. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Maybe in real life, not online life only. Thank you.
Sure. Absolutely. Yes. I'm pretty sure that, eventually this will blow over and we will be able to travel. Hopefully we will travel less, but, not pollute planet unnecessarily with all this travel. But when we do travel, it will be something special.
That's true. Thanks a lot.
Look
Have a nice day. Thank you very much for this conversation. Max Azarov, założyciel i prezes szkoły online Novakid, był moim gościem. To tyle, jeżeli chodzi o naukę na ten moment języka angielskiego, ale kto wie, może szkoła online to dopiero początek tej drogi, która wygląda na bardzo ciekawą, chociaż może być wyboista i długa. Dziękuję i do zobaczenia. To tyle, jeżeli chodzi.